it's about who we are as people. I really think that is part of what makes us different, because we are willing to say we don't have all the answers. We're willing to say, let's figure this out together. We're willing to learn and help our clients with something we may not know, to save them some time that it might take to research something. Welcome to Unlock 360, an LTL podcast. We are here today to talk about leadership, teaching, and learning. I am Wendy York Davoud, the founder of Lead Teach Learn 360, and a couple of our core team members are joining me today so that we can just share a little bit about our stories. Good morning and welcome, Erin and Kristen. Would you like to share a little bit about who you are, your names, and what you do here at Lead Teach Learn 360?
I'll go. I'm Erin Cherry, and I'm the operations manager here at LTL 360. Just fancy title of some sort that just means I am the catch-all. I'm going to do anything that my girls need, that the schools need. So I'm just here to try to help them do their job a little bit better and be a little more successful. That's me.
And I'm Kristen Buczek, and I'm a systems improvement coach for LTL 360. Been doing the work with this wonderful team for a couple years now, but have known Wendy for many years. And I think this is a good segue. Why don't you kind of tell us how this came to be? Maybe I think you would be the best person to talk about that. So tell us the history of LTL 360.
Well, sure. I guess I have to go back a little bit and share a bit about just myself and my journey in education. So I began my career in Unbelief ISD, official career in Unbelief ISD. I guess you could say I started in Bryan, Texas, as a substitute teacher while I was attending Blinn College, and then went on to Texas A&M University. After that, I graduated actually with my business degree, with a specialty in marketing, and went out into the business world. And I thought, this is what I'm going to do. But my heart had always been set on education, and I changed my mind about 3 years in. So it took me a little longer to get my degree. I had changed my mind because I got scared. I got scared that I wouldn't make it on a teacher's salary. And so, I started to learn what it costs to live, and really, in taking care of myself and being more independent, I just got scared. So I changed my major, went out into the business world. And it didn't take long for me to find my way back. And I just thought, this isn't fulfilling me. And so, it's going to be hard on a teacher's salary, but I have to follow my heart. So I went back to school, so that I could be certified to teach, and started my career then in Unbelief ISD officially. And then after a few years, relocated to Southern California, where I continued to work with middle school aged kids. I love middle school. They're stuck there right in the middle. And that's actually Stuck in the Middle is a title of a book that I'll never forget reading about middle schoolers as I was getting my credential. And anyway, so I continued to teach middle schoolers in Southern California, and did that for a few years. And then my principal saw something in me and said, we'd like you to be our literacy coach. And I said, well, yeah, I would love to try that, because if I can make an even greater impact by working with other teachers to help them make impacts in their classroom, then I'm not just now having an impact on the 35 kids in my class that I see, 6 periods or 5 periods out of the school day, but now it's spreading across the school. So sign me up. I don't know what I'm doing, but sign me up, and I will learn. And so I did that, loved it. It was hard at first, but learned and grew and loved it so much that eventually I was recruited to join an outside organization and work in the field as an instructional coach for pre-K through 12. So that took me to multiple states and getting to work with educators all over. And it was so eye-opening to see as I, from leaving the classroom, working with multiple teachers across a school site, and also then working with multiple districts across several states, the variance that existed in the experiences that students were receiving and the results they were getting. And that really just brought so much more passion out in me. I continued with another organization. When the pandemic happened, things changed and everyone was scrambling. And at the time, the organization that I worked for made a decision, and that decision put me and all of my colleagues out of work. And I thought life was over. Like, oh no, I've just lost everything. And I happened to work with Kristen at the time.
Yeah.
So
It was
yeah. What are you gonna do? You're gonna pick yourself back up and figure out how to keep doing what you love to do. And so we founded Lead, Teach, Learn 360.
by the grace of whomever chose to bring Erin on to help with all of the back end stuff that people don't get to see, but this world would not function without the work that you do.
Thank you.
And you eventually,
I love it.
You put a leap of faith in me to bring me onto your precious baby that is this work and this company that you've poured your heart and soul into.
Ours.
And
we have to say ours.
our work. Yes. We Teach Learn. Now I've just changed the name too. So.
Yeah.
Lead, Teach, Learn 360. Yes. And I've heard this story before, but it's still every single time you tell it, hits a little different. You know, it's just such an inspiration that you were able to carry on the work through the toughest of times, not just for yourself, but for the schools that had to suddenly switch over to online learning and teaching their own kids at home. And I don't know if you realize what an impact that was for people to know that they had you to lean on and carry forward in the hardest of times for those schools.
That they could have seen the behind the scenes of her learning how to figure the Zoom out, she would have little fake Zoom sessions with the family. I mean, she would say, "Hey, Erin, can you and Olivia get on?" And all of her family, we'd show up. We'd be her little guinea pigs. Let's figure this out. We're like, hey, I mean, but she was just needing to learn it, doing that work, figuring this out so that she could teach them, so that she could continue to do this work somehow. And everybody just didn't, nobody knew how to do it, but she was like, I'm going to figure this out. So I'm going to need all my family members and all my best friends on a Zoom. And she would mess up. It was confusing. I'm learning how to share.
How do I share a screen?
Do you remember that? It was amazing. I thought, wow, she is just fighting the good fight here, you know. And that's when Olivia and I were off on our little pandemic tour where her college shut down. It's like, okay, you're going to go home and be on Zooms. And she was figuring it out. She knew a little more than we did, but it was just like everybody is being affected right now.
Yeah.
And if you're social like me, you're lonely. But my daughter asked me to kind of be with her. So I got to kind of help in the beginning when I just now thought about that.
Oh, yeah.
And help you learn the Zoom so you could pass that on and keep this moving forward.
You probably voted on the company's name.
I voted on the company's name, the colors. It's so fun. I mean, that you were learning. But what I'm reminded of is that your business degree never went to waste. It was supposed to be that way. It's like my favorite part of the story, that when you look back, it's like, oh,
it did serve me well.
Because boy, is she a great business. It may not have been your dream, but you're good at it. So maybe it really was. You just didn't know it yet. And you found your way, you know, back to that where it was a necessity for what would you do? Because often you're like going back to we went back and saw one of your professors. How about going back to your college, back to the business and explaining, look at me, I succeeded. I'm doing this. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I remember you telling me this, this, and this. Right. And I'm listening, like she's talking to an old professor who is so proud and remembers her. You're at Texas A&M with 1 billion students and you know, because you worked hard when you were there.
You have impacted every person that you've come in contacted with in some ways. It's so contagious.
Y'all are so
well, and you believed in
sweet.
me and gave me an opportunity during a time I didn't know what I was going to do. I mean, that's that. I mean, you know, I have a teaching background. I loved to teach. It was a joy of mine. But then I stayed home to raise my kids. And then they go off to college and they move on. And you're like, do I go back to teaching? How do I get back into it? Because I think my certificate is no longer, you know, I'm going to have to do 150 hours. I don't know how to do this. I've got to research this, but maybe I'll go into real estate because I love that too. That is another passion of mine. And I had really dabbled in that and started doing that when Wendy called and was like, so I'm going to need a little help because I really can't do all of this and I have to, like, I got to figure this out. And I don't know, I trust you. I don't know. I know you're getting into real estate. Will you do a little on the side to help me too? Oh my God. Yeah.
Hello,
And
here
quickly
you are.
I was like, oh my God, I'm back. Like I was so excited. It put me back in education.
You had a purpose.
Back where I wanted to. Absolutely. And I'm
Recharged.
doing it with somebody that I don't have to guess your values.
Yes.
I don't have to guess if you're doing this for the right reasons. I knew it. It's in my core. Like I've known her since 4th grade. I mean, I've watched her in and out of every hard situation, and she never stops. It's like, I'm going to keep fighting. Whether it's for her family, for herself, for the kids. Like, it is just, who doesn't want to work for somebody like that? Like,
Well,
I think
a lot of times people ask us, okay, well, what makes it different?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what makes your company or your team, albeit small and mighty, what makes your team different? And one is our leader, and one is the people that she's chosen to be on this team, because we do share values. We believe in the work. It's not just showing up to go through the motions.
It's not a job. This is just not a job.
We're thinking about the schools we work with as if they're our own.
They become quickly your own. If you don't look at it like that.
The kids, I tell people this all the time when I go to school sites in person. I'm always still looking for former students, as though that's a possibility that I'm going to see them. I live in Los Angeles, and I work mostly in Northern California and Texas, and I still go and looking for my kids, and maybe one day, but
keep looking.
It brings me joy to think that we are still connected in some way to these, and these students become ours, you know? And that's not something you see everywhere. It's not just a checklist of things you need to do. It's, where are you as a school? Where are you as a person? Where are you as a team? And how can we help support you in that, and what your goals are, and starting at whatever place they're at, you know? And I think that is sort of where my why, and now working with adults versus students, comes, is you can see the impact and the feeling. It's selfish almost, but the feeling you get when, a classroom of students, their light turns on and they get it suddenly. There's nothing like being able to see a room full of adults who finally realize that they're not alone, and it actually makes your work, I don't want to use the word easier.
Awesome.
I don't, not the word easier, but it makes your work feel more achievable when you've got other people there with you heading towards a common goal that's clear and that's based on data or student work or,
proven results,
surveys, but hearing the voices of others and helping them see what that plan could be and what you're going to get your kids to is great.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know where I was going with that.
Well, I do know that one thing that stuck out that you said is just knowing you're not alone.
Yes.
That's everything. It's from the students all the way up to the teachers and on and on and on. When you feel alone in this work that is hard, and you feel misaligned, like we're not talking, we're not sharing, we're just doing lonely. And you think you're the only one sometimes. Like, but when you can get, like, lend a little ear and be like, oh, no, you're not, I totally get it. And you can relate with each other, then the comfortability, they can be like, I think I can do this for another year. Sometimes it's year by year. I mean, I have a daughter that went into education. Why, they say. I know I say that story a lot. Anybody that's following us for a while, it's probably the one story I repeat all the time, because it's sad that she felt very alone her first year. And she was with a staff she was. Mm-hmm. You go back to we don't have time for that. How do you survive if you're alone and you're 23 or something? What do you do? And everybody surrounding you is saying, why are you doing this work? It's hard. You could do anything else. There's so many other things. And it makes you feel like maybe I did the wrong thing. You start questioning yourself. She's in with those middlers, like Wendy was. Yes. She loves the middle school. I was kindergarten. I like those babies, but thank God we all have our places. And she's so good with them. And what a shame, because Kristen's favorite thing I say, if we are not there, it's scary. If you don't have teachers in the classroom,
and we will not.
I can't help it. It's so true. All right, this is our future. If we don't have any educators, what are we going to do? Like, it's so sad. It's just really, really sad and scary. And so giving them, I feel it and I watch this, that you give them this, y'all aren't alone and I'm here to help you. So reach out to me at all times, anytime. You're going to text, like we will answer you. We have a statement. Within 24 hours, we're back to you. And usually really right away. It may not be the best. Like we are quick on it, but it's because it matters. It's like a family member reaching out and needing help. And we are going to be there for it. And so I think that is probably a huge success for us, is that we are there to let them know they are not alone and we are all in this together, and we will do the work with you, alongside of you, so that all of these students succeed and that they have somebody teaching them in the classroom and loving them and showing them that there's a future ahead and that they can dream big and we can do it. And we can do hard work, all of us.
I'd like to add that it's about who we are as people. Mm-hmm. I really think that is part of what makes us different, because we are willing to say we don't have all the answers. We're willing to say, let's figure this out together. We're willing to learn and help our clients with something we may not know, to save them some time that it might take to research something. We are dedicated and trustworthy. We are open to going off course. We're flexible. And we meet them where they are. So, earlier we were talking about the work with one of our clients in Westwood. Westwood already had a focus. They already had a goal. And we just, so some of our school districts have not yet decided what their focus or their goal is going to be. So we will coach them through that piece. In this case, they had that and they were getting ready to launch it. And so the entry point, is different for each of the school districts. And with them, it was now let's get clear. So we do absolutely personalize. We're currently in the process of developing a championship playbook, but it's not actually a play-by-play. So it's a tricky piece, right? But because we don't have a binder on the shelf that we're taking out, it's not a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every entry point is different, and we will personalize the client's experience to that and to their style. And I think those things do make us different.
Right. Well, there's things they have to focus on that are just, sometimes it's the culture. You can't even really get to, Westwood's culture is built.
Right.
They will always strive to keep building it, right? It's not like get there done. That's not it. And they know it. It's obvious. But what if they didn't have that? What if you walk in and it's like divisive and they're confusing and they don't, and nobody even understands
what's We've seen that.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So that's an entry point. You got to get that
different.
first. Yeah. That's something I've learned, because this isn't the work I've known, but boy, would it have been helpful and useful when I was teaching if we had somebody come in and to help us, because we were not divisive. That's not the word. I don't mean it as an ugly term. It's just didn't know what was going on and divided in our little tables. And okay, this is a kindergarten team and this is a first grade team. And we would separate out and really not be clear about as a whole school what we were doing. But we were doing it in kindergarten, man, whatever it was. Didn't know if we aligned it to the...
You can get so caught up in
that.
The whirlwind.
Yeah.
We've been talking a lot about the whirlwind.
That's true.
And how to prioritize within the whirlwind. And if you don't have a focus that you're driving towards or you're working on, then you're trying to focus on everything. And that's exactly what leads you to your burnout and your just feeling helpless. Like I can't...
Where's our culture?
I can't do well with anything because I'm trying to do everything.
Right.
And
so, I'm not knowing how to be vulnerable.
I
don't know how to be vulnerable.
And it's
I don't
all
know to
well-intentioned. Everybody's working hard. Everybody's doing their best.
For sure. But imagine
but we
what
just
Wendy
don't know
just
how
said.
to start.
Right. Yeah.
We don't know how to start. We don't know how to have a conversation with the person next door.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Like when Wendy says, we're not afraid to say we don't know. Well, when you say that to a whole group of people that are maybe afraid, somebody out there is afraid to admit that, right? Like they're like, if I say that, then they may not think I'm the expert in the classroom. That's just not it.
Yeah.
That's just not true. But you can feel that way. I know I did. I was scared. I was really scared and frightened. I didn't know
syndrome.
I could.
You get real worried about.
I didn't know if I was going to admit
people
that
know, and I don't know.
Not sure if I taught them correct today. I think I went right off course. I don't really know that I did anything today. But if somebody's up there saying, I'm not really sure about this, but I'm going to figure it out. Well, then you just gave them the opportunity to admit that they also might not know, and that's okay. And when we're here to work together to figure it out. And so I think that's a huge gift that would have really been good for me starting out. And it's what we do with my daughter, we're not at her school district yet, but we do get to tell her that, and Westwood passed it on when I told their story. They're like, coming back, you got to keep her in, give her, it's okay that she doesn't know it all. It's okay to make mistakes. I mean, what a powerful network already of great people doing great hard work together and giving each other, like empowering one another, like we can do this, So I think it's a big gift that we stand up and admit that we don't have all the answers, but we are here to do whatever you need. We'll figure it out together, right? I think that's really big.
When you take a look at, quantitative metrics and which typically is assessed, each state has their own system. There's typically like an annual academic assessment, and then they look at how the school performed, how the district performed in terms of attendance, and they frequently look at what was suspension, how many suspensions did they have or expulsions, and those pieces. We see our clients who are committed getting outstanding results, and for example, California uses a colored system, like colors for their dashboard. So the lowest is red, and then it's orange, then yellow and green, and blue is the highest level of performance. We've seen two jumps in colors after just, a year of our work together. Whereas, in Texas, it's like going from a C to an A or from an F to a C in terms of academics, attendance, and suspension. So we see the impact in that kind of data. We also see the impact in looking at student work when we're working with a team of teachers. And you can, I remember Joy in Gateway, when she was still a principal at a school site, she brought a binder that one of her grade level teams had made with the student work. And you could literally turn the page and see the growth in their students' work over the course of the year. We've seen results in feedback and what the participants say. What did they like? What did they learn? And even more importantly, what are they prepared to do? So we absolutely have seen that the work matters and has an impact, and I think that's what drives our passion. For our listeners, remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and check out the link in the description below to learn more about Lead, Teach, Learn 360 and our clients' success stories.
Earlier, whenever we were talking about success stories, I remember that you had told us a little bit about something that went on that you experienced in Lemon Grove, your work there. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about it? I think the viewers would like to hear that.
Yeah, I would love to share about that because it's something that's on my mind and it's super recent. I was tasked, luckily, with the charge to go work with this district, and it was going to be all of their teachers, their whole staff, in planning for next year, determining what's your focus going to be for next year. And this was going to be their final faculty meeting of the year. And as a teacher, your final faculty meeting is not typically with a new face in the room offering you professional learning. It's just not typically the time to do that. So I was really nervous. And there was some build up to that. I had met with the leadership team. We had talked about, what the student outcomes were so far, what were the kind of glows and grows, what were the areas of growth for the school as a whole. There had been some leadership changes, all sorts of things going on. So I had all that background, but I was real nervous to be the person in the room saying, no, you're not working on getting yourself wrapped up for the year. You're working on looking ahead to next year. And I get to be the face of that. And I was real nervous about that. When the day came and we were able to get in the room together, I've had people coming in that just, they were done. They were ready to, the second to last week of
tired.
school.
We're tired.
They had seen me once before, but they hadn't really known who I was or what I was there to do. And by the end of that session together, the whole purpose was to get them grounded in what they were going to hit the ground running with next year, which is a focus on literacy. But we even drilled down a little bit further. What is it that the students can do? What is it that they can't do? And how are we going to help them get there? And by the end of that meeting, those teachers were coming up to me and thanking me for that. And in those feedback surveys that you were talking about. And the reason they're on my mind is I feel like I can't wait to see what happens next, because this is a group of teachers who have been there for years and years. The staff is very, very footed there. I'm telling you, they have a couple new teachers each year, but for the most part, this is a veteran staff who's been there for years. They've seen the roller coaster of successes, and y'all all know. So that just kind of keeps coming into my mind when we're talking about what are some success stories. I think that is a success story in progress. And part of our work is we stay in touch with these districts, whether we're contracted or not, and so we're real excited to see how this develops into the work leading into the fall. And
that's a big
I don't know.
success.
It felt like a win.
I think it's a big win. Yeah. Because if you're tired, exhausted, and then you can leave with hope and excitement for the next school year, because we need you to come on back. Like, that's big. I think that's a big success. Yeah.
Well, and it reminds me, we've been kind of talking about what are some challenges that we have. And I know one of the biggest challenges that we have, especially going into the room of new faces, is kind of trying to convince people why it's important to have us there.
Yeah, why us?
And it almost can kind of feel like I'm trying to sell you something, or that might be the perception of a new face,
Right.
Okay, here's another coach in here. What are you going to give me? What are you going to tell me I have to do now? How do I have to change all this work I've already done? Especially when you've got teachers who've taught for years and years and years. They see a new face and they're like, okay, well, here's the next thing. All this work that I just did for the last 3 years, or this initiative that we just started, or these other 12 things that we just committed to doing, like, those are out the window because this person's here and has something new. And that is sometimes a hurdle to get over. But it's also part of the fun of the challenge. Like, okay, you're the one that
I see you,
and you're going to be a believer here pretty soon. You're going to feel it. You're going to success breeds success. You'll hear Wendy say that a lot. Success breeds success. So we help them, celebrate even the smallest of wins and make it attainable, so it doesn't feel like the whole world is on you.
I think part of the reason that happens also is because it's also one of the reasons that we're different is that our work empowers the participants.
Yes.
And so when you were saying that, I was reminded of a team, the exact thing happened. So to a middle school team, high school team in the room, site leadership teams. So, I had department level leads alongside their principals. This particular day, principals were running late. So it was just the department leads to start. Stalled a little bit, and then we're going to get started because it is about empowering them to make decisions on behalf of their departments that they lead, and on behalf of the students in their care for the whole school, like, that are going to, what are we going to do to get to our goal? What is our goal? What are we going to do to get there? And there was just this vibe. I could just tell, and so I'm like, okay, I'm getting ready to start. And so, I start, and a little bit into the meeting, I felt comfortable asking, okay, so let's be real, what's going on? And it's like, oh, it's just that our district always hires consultants.
Yeah.
And, so many different people come in and this and this. And by the end of the day, they said, this was actually awesome.
So different.
We feel like we get to take control of our work. You're not telling us what to do. You're helping us figure it out.
Right.
And this is awesome. When will you be back? I'm like, see me in October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Checking on how you did. So you're right. It's those moments that really, it does matter. It's evidence of progress.
Well, oftentimes that is what's happening is you have a new consultant that's coming in to tell you what to do and how to make the changes and all this without really your input. And that's not, I see that approach a lot. Probably it works for some. I don't enjoy that, because then I don't have any like feeling of this is my baby. This is part, we're all together doing this work. It's like somebody else is coming in to tell us. So I'm sure when they do see, it's like,
how is my time going to be wasted?
how can
today?
you know day one?
Sometimes.
Right. How can you know day
know?
one though? You can't. Like, I mean, moment one. I shouldn't say day one. Moment one. Like you walk in, you're not sure. The fact that you can empower them and then they can leave feeling totally different. I almost think that would be more fun. Like, okay, I got you guys. I know what you're thinking about me, but that's really not what I'm here to do. This is not. I understand it though. Been there, done that, seen
Building off what they're already doing.
Yes.
Taking the best from what they're already doing.
But I think
helping them.
you don't
make it
see
better.
that very often.
No.
Like I know one time someone made a comment, I don't remember who, and it was like, well, it's kind of a flooded market. Coach and Wendy ruminated on it quite a bit, and then it was brought up on a podcast or something, and it was like, but actually we're not. It's just super hard when you're just not part of that big flooded market. It's
when the coach at the school district that we recently worked with in Texas, I loved that one of the coaches said, it is different what they do. It's just, it was like,
yes,
yay. So it's not just me. It's not just us. So like someone else.
It's tough. That's why we're here, trying to sort of explain
yes,
a little bit.
This episode was meant to do that.
Yes, because everybody's asking that. And I want that like elevator speech that everybody tells you to have.
Yeah. What do you
and
do?
we have struggled to figure it out because it isn't a one-stop shop. It's not we're coming to you. It's so much more than that, which makes it difficult because how do you buy in? How do you just sell it? How do you... but we're not out to sell a product. We're not out to just sell something that we think works for every single school.
It's not a quick
small
fix.
towns, big town, rural. You can't judge it all the same.
You're reminding me of, another common challenge that we often have to overcome with the school districts that we work with is initiative overload, like
initiative-itis,
or just programs galore. Like,
ooh, what's that new shiny object?
We have this assessment and this assessment, and we have that curriculum and 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 that assessment and that assessment and that.
And that is exactly it.
Oh, Lord.
There it is.
Lord, help us focus.
I think everybody got stressed out just then.
I know. It's the truth.
It is the truth.
Yeah, and so it's that is their reality. So how do we help them bring it all together?
Integrate
the things. And a lot of times that may start with an instructional framework. Do your teachers even know what you expect are the must-dos and the may-dos? Because I'm going to tell you right now, something you bought 3 or 4 years ago that in your mind they think they're done with, a lot of them are out there still trying to implement that along with the 5 new things you bought last week. And so everybody's just like, and I think that our goal is to help them really become coherent in
We're developing them as people. We're focusing on the people and not the program or the process. It's
and
people development.
So it feels bad when I don't have that elevator speech, but I'm learning to
we'll get
also
our elevator
love it.
speech one thing at a time.
But what I'm learning, I think, as I'm growing and learning, is that it isn't that. That's what makes us different, is that we just don't have an elevator speech, and we may never really have it. I don't know if it might be time wasted.
We'll get there. We'll get better.
To kind of explain
tomorrow, for our viewers, we're actually on a company retreat, something that we do each year to really grow ourselves individually, ourselves as a team, and to celebrate the prior school year and to gear up for the next year. And tomorrow's agenda includes guiding principles and really trying to get clear on what it is that we all agree are our core values that drive the work that we do. So that will help us with our elevator speech. Erin and Kristen, you both know how much I love you, how much I respect you. It's been just so much fun to kind of just talk about who we are and why we do what we do and what we do today. For our listeners, remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and check out the link in the description below to learn more about Lead, Teach, Learn 360 and the work that we do. I think that's a wrap.